darker than that, Cray. I've never been happier.
Welcome to They Said We Said. This is Orzhov Done, back with another deck tech video. Woo! Back to Modern. This is... I know what you're thinking. Eldrazi, S&M, that sounds pretty gross. Well, let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about Eldrazi. Super gross. But, you know, it's kind of a love-themed deck. You know, we're processing, we're ingesting, we're doing all the gross stuff. Let's just get into the deck tech before this gets really weird. So we're going to kick this thing off with the mana base as we do. And we got 4 copies of everyone's favorite nude, well-endowed devil chilling in the Sulphurous Springs. This acts as kind of a tri-land for the deck because it is black-red and also taps for colorless. It does give you some pain if you're going with the colors, but the colorless mana is super relevant because guess what? We're playing Spaghetti Monsters. So next up we have a playset of Black Cleave Glyphs. This one is the black-red fast land, one of the originals from Mirrodin. Next up, we have the Blood Crypt. What kind of S&M themed deck could we have if we didn't have a Blood Crypt? And next up, we have the Eldrazi Temple. 4 of. Of course, this card is super relevant to the deck because, you know, it casts our Eldrazi spells for 2 less. Eldrazi Temple taps for 1 generic mana, but if it's casting a Spaghetti Monster, it is tapping for 2. Next up, we have Mutavault. So this is basically our Eldrazi land. This is somewhat of an aggro deck, so we do want to get the early beats on. So we have a 4 of Mutavault. Cost 1 to turn it into a 2/2 Eldrazi, basically. And then we have Ghost Quarter, a 2 of. So that's going to take care of Tron lands or any other lands that you don't want to deal with on a normal basis. 1 of Urborg, 2 of Yawgmoth. This is just to kind of smooth out our black mana. And then just 1 of each of the basics. So a mountain and a swamp. I was doing 2 swamps and a mountain instead of the Urborg. But as long as you have 1 of each basic, you should be okay as far as getting Path to Exile goes. Next up is the creature base. I love this deck because it allows me to still play with my playset of Hangerback Walkers. This thing is fantastic in this deck. You know, you don't get the added bonus with the Eldrazi Temples, but it is a nice, you know, it kind of fights against how aggressive the modern format is. You get it out and it will tick up quickly, and, you know, once you pop it, you get a lot of little, you know, walker bugs. So nice little defensive card there. Next up, ooh baby, we have the Wasteland Strangler. Basically the reason to play the deck, it processes, it has Devoid, you cast it, and then you could take an exiled card and put it back in their graveyard, and target creature gets -3/-3 on a 3/2 body. You know, not the biggest bodies, you know, especially for Modern, but it does get rid of some of the smaller threats. Next up, we have a play set of the one and only Thought-Knot Seer, one of the best Eldrazi's ever made, and that is 4 mana. You get a 4/4. So when Thought-Knot Seer enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile it. So it not only rips apart their hand, but also gives food to our Wasteland Strangler. You know, just great hand destruction. 4/4 body, absolutely fantastic. Especially if you have it on Eldrazi Temple early. Then we have the playset of the Reality Smasher. This thing rumbles like no other. 5 for a 5/5. Trample Haste. They can't get rid of it. As well as spend a removal piece to get rid of this thing. So it is always going to be a 2/1 against your 5/5 Trample Haste. Fantastic card. And the other non-Eldrazi creature in the deck is Kalitas Trader Get. Absolute beast, especially with all the removal. You're going to turn this thing on all the time. Get your zombies, sack the zombies, make them bigger. Just absolutely fantastic. 3/4 lifelink vampire for 4. Probably one of the best cards in the format. So that does it for our creatures. Now we're going to move into our non-creature spells. Heavy removal package, and start out with the best card in Modern, and that is the Lightning Bolt. 4 of. Pretty much the reason to run red in this deck. 1 of Slaughter Pact, just to get your early removal on. Remember your trigger, guys. Just put a dice on top of your deck. You don't want to lose a game to a pack trigger. Nothing feels worse in life. Then we have our hand disruption package, the 3 of Inquisition of Kozilek, and the 1 of Thoughtseize. Just kind of, for Modern, you want to go for more of the Inquisition. It's more relevant because everything's so fast, so furious. The converted mana cost 3 or less pretty much gets there every time. And, just the 1 of Thoughtseize just to kind of hedge your bets. We have the 2 of Terminate. Just some nice, fast, instant speed removal. We're running Rakdos colors, so why not run the best Rakdos removal spell? Talk about a good Rakdos removal spell. Dreadbore, we're running a 1 of. Not as good as Terminate, obviously, because of the sorcery speed, but it does take care of Planeswalkers. If they drop an Ugin, we're pretty much dead. So what better way... So Dreadbore is just kind of a safety valve just to get rid of cards like Ugin or, probably Nahiris and crazy-ass Planeswalkers. 2 of Kolaghan's Command. This is just kind of value.deck as far as the non-creature spells go. Kolaghan's Command in these colors is your Swiss Army knife in Modern. It reads, 1 red, 1 black. You get to choose 2. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Target player discards a card. Destroy target artifact. Kolaghan's Command deals 2 damage to target creature or player. So you got your shock, you got your affinity removal, basically, or any other kind of artifact. Lantern Control, I'm looking at you. Target player discards a card, so just more hand attack at instant speed, which is fantastic. Or you get to return one of your Spaghetti Monsters or your Marilyn Manson to your hand from the graveyard. And then we're going to look at our artifact package, and this is just more processing goodness. This is kind of our processing plant. This is what makes the hot dogs, and that is Relic of Progenitus. It is 1 mana. You tap it, target player removes a card from his or her graveyard from the game. So you just keep removing pieces. Especially fights really well against the Dredge deck that's running around. This deck does really well against that. You just kind of get to keep removing their graveyard, and then when you have their graveyard gone, you get to cycle it, and you get to remove Relic of Progenitus from the game, and you get to draw a card. 1 of Ratchet Bomb, another one in the sideboard. This fights against all those super, fast, aggressive decks. Zoo, Affinity. This just kind of, you take it up to 1 or 2, and then just pop it and get rid of their board, which is fantastic. Usually our creatures are a little bit higher on the converted mana cost curve because we could get away with that with things like Eldrazi Temple. So it doesn't really affect us as bad as it affects our opponents. So Ratchet Bomb, actually, you could go 2 of. I was running 2 of this, and I shaved down an Inquisition, but I kind of switched back and forth. Right now, the format is a little bit faster, so that's why I have a little bit more hand attack with Inquisition just to stay in the game long enough to get our giant spaghetti monsters out and, out in front. This deck could, it kind of plays both ends. You don't want to go to turn, 10 with this deck because then you're pretty much done for. But it does have some resiliency where it could get you to a mid-range game, and then you could, kind of take over the game with cards like Kalidas or Reality Smasher, or even Hangerback Walker, but it also keeps up pretty nicely with cards like Mutavault and Wasteland Strangler and all this quick removal. So this deck is actually pretty fantastic, and it's on the cheaper end. So no fetch lands or anything like that, which might be something to think about, something to switch out. We might want fetch lands, instead of some of these other lands with a new card that just got spoiled from Aether Revolt, one by the name of Fatal Push. Might be a good idea, to make some changes once Aether Revolt comes out. But right now, this thing does the trick, and it does keep up pretty well. It's kind of the faster version of Eldrazi Tron. That's kind of, it's pretty fast, but kind of a more mid-range traditional Tron kind of setup. This one is more of an aggro deck. So that's it for me, guys. It's been a while, but I promise to be back soon. Aether Revolt's right around the corner. Do you like this deck? Tell me what kind of improvements you would make. Tell me if you want to sleeve it up. Tell me all the things in the comment section below, and we'll see you next time.